Is a Putin-Zelensky summit finally back on the table after months of relentless war and failed diplomatic efforts? After Putin's missiles rain hell across Ukraine, is Zelensky now desperately pushing for an end to the relentless bombardment? Is Ukraine changing its strategy as Zelensky publicly calls for Russia's devastating missile attacks to finally come to a halt? Did Washington quietly arm-twist Kyiv into seeking a fresh round of peace talks with Moscow after months of brutal fighting? Ukraine President Volodymyr Zelensky is reportedly seeking a face-to-face meeting with Russian President Vladimir Putin to revive stalled peace efforts. Zelensky's advisor has announced that the Ukrainian president is prepared to hold direct talks with Vladimir Putin if conditions are met. Mikhailo Podolyak claimed Volodymyr Zelensky is pushing for a comprehensive ceasefire covering both aerial bombardments and ground combat operations. According to reports, Ukraine is now looking to begin what it describes as complex negotiations with the Russian side to end the war. Zelensky has also called for a complete halt to Russian missile and drone strikes targeting Ukraine's critical energy infrastructure. In addition, Kyiv is reportedly seeking a full suspension of hostilities, with fighting across the front line brought to a complete standstill. The renewed diplomatic push comes as Trump's top diplomat reportedly claimed Washington wants Russia and Ukraine to return to peace negotiations once again.
The average American, you see Cuba, small country, 90 miles off our shores, 9.5 million people population. What people forget that when it comes to things like espionage and influence operations, they actually are an influence and espionage superpower. If you look at the history of espionage in the United States, Cuba is the only country that consistently has implanted and embedded spies in our system. You're going to see some efforts over the next few weeks to see if we can't restart talks between the two sides and bring this war to an end. But we also understand that both sides have some pretty strong red lines, and until we can bring those red lines a little closer together, we're not going to be there yet. But we're ready to go, and the president's told his team, if you see an opportunity to be a force that brings about some momentum behind peace talks, let's do it. Any conflict between the U.S. and China, be it economic or be it military, God forbid, would be catastrophic for both countries and for the world. So we have to manage that, but we can't walk away or forfeit our national interests. So this is the hard work of foreign policy, and it requires every administration to sort of balance these two competing tugs against us.
One person was killed and 31 injured in Russian attacks on Zaporizhzhia on August 2nd, the regional governor says. Ivan Fedorov reports that Russian forces dropped 8 guided bombs on the city within just 90 minutes. A 71-year-old woman died under the rubble of a residential building, Fedorov adds. Reuters footage shows first responders treating victims near a damaged apartment block. Residential and non-residential buildings were destroyed in the strikes, as firefighters battled multiple blazes. Zaporizhzhia has been under heavy bombardment in recent months, Reuters notes. The latest strike comes after a series of massive missile and drone attacks on Kyiv. Ukrainian officials say Russia is intensifying a campaign against urban centers and key logistics hubs. Russia claimed on August 2nd that its forces captured 2 more Ukrainian settlements as fighting continued across multiple frontline sectors. Russia's defense ministry said its troops had taken control of Olgovka in the Kharkiv region and Lyubetskoy in the Zaporizhzhia region. The ministry credited Russia's Zapad group of forces with capturing the settlement of Olgovka during recent combat operations. Russian Defense Minister Andrei Belousov congratulated the troops involved, praising them for the latest battlefield gains. Russia also claimed it carried out precision strikes on Ukrainian ports and key transportation infrastructure during the latest operations. The defense ministry said fuel storage tanks at the port of Odessa were destroyed in the reported precision missile strikes. Russia further claimed a tugboat modified to launch uncrewed surface vessels was struck at the port of Mykolaiv. Russia's Dnieper group of forces said it also attacked Ukrainian positions near Orakov, Preobrazhenka, and Yulievka. The ministry claimed Ukrainian forces lost more than 40 personnel, 28 military vehicles, 6 electronic warfare stations, and 1 artillery gun. Russia also reported striking Ukrainian drone production facilities, storage sites, and deployment areas during the latest offensive operations. A Russian drone struck a Rozetka warehouse in the Kyiv region on August 1st, killing 1 employee and injuring 7 others. The attack hit the company's logistics facility in Brovary, located northeast of the Ukrainian capital, Kyiv. Rozetka said around 270 employees were working inside the warehouse when the Russian drone struck the facility. The company identified the employee killed in the attack as Volodymyr Melnichenko and confirmed his death. Rozetka said the injured workers received medical treatment, while one person remained in serious condition after the strike. The warehouse attack followed Russia's large-scale missile and drone barrage against Kyiv and surrounding areas earlier the same day. Ukrainian officials said the wider assault damaged residential buildings, industrial facilities, a school, and the Lithuanian embassy. The strike came after Ukraine intensified attacks on Russia's Wildberries logistics centers in recent days. Ukrainian officials have claimed that Wildberries logistics facilities support Russia's broader military supply and logistics network. Belarus has begun forming the 1st Battalion of a new Special Operations Brigade positioned near Ukraine's border, marking a significant expansion of its elite forces in a highly sensitive region and raising fresh security concerns in Kyiv and across NATO capitals. This new formation will be designated as the 38th Separate Air Assault Brigade within Belarus's Special Operations Forces, a unit intended to operate as a rapid-response airborne assault formation capable of conducting high-intensity missions close to Ukrainian territory. The announcement about the brigade's creation and its initial battalion was publicly made by Belarusian Special Operations Forces Commander Alexander Iluikevich, who outlined ongoing recruitment, staffing, and training efforts, signaling Minsk's determination to reinforce its southern military posture. Belarusian Special Operations Forces Commander said, and I quote, "We have already begun forming military units, and one battalion has been formed. This year, we are forming another battalion, combat support units, artillery and air defense units, reconnaissance units," unquote. The new unit is set to be stationed in Belarus's Gomel region, positioned close to the border with Ukraine's Chernihiv region, placing airborne and special operations forces within striking distance of northern Ukrainian territory. According to defense outlet Militarny, the formal decision to form this brigade was first announced in August 2025, highlighting a long-term plan by Minsk to gradually build up its special operations presence along the southern flank. Belarusian President Alexander Lukashenko has publicly stated that these special forces deployments near the Ukrainian border are intended to ensure security, framing the buildup as a protective measure rather than an overt preparation for war. Lukashenko has further emphasized that special forces units are not necessarily meant solely for offensive operations, arguing that their presence serves deterrent and defensive purposes even as regional tensions remain high. This positioning of elite units is not the first deployment of Belarusian Special Operations Forces near the Ukrainian border, as similar movements and rotations have been reported over the past several years, indicating a consistent pattern of militarization in the area. In February 2024, it was reported that Belarus had declared a counterterrorism operation regime, a framework that allowed authorities to justify heightened security measures and increased military activity under the banner of combating potential threats. By August 2024, the monitoring group Belaruski Gayan claimed that Belarusian forces, including special operations elements, continued to remain deployed along the border with Ukraine, suggesting that the posture had evolved into a semi-permanent presence rather than a temporary exercise. Reporting by Militarny estimated that one such deployment involved around 400 to 500 servicemen, underscoring that while the force size was limited, it still represented a notable concentration of trained personnel in a sensitive frontier zone.